What should I do?
What should I do?
What should I do?
What are my rights?
What are my rights?
What are my rights?
A legal course of action.
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 Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to a brand new episode of Legal Morse of Action. This is Patricio, and as always, I am joined by Attorney Aaron Morse. How you doing, Aaron?
Oh, I am exactly as good as I should be.
Before we start the show, the disclaimer, the views and opinions are those of Aaron and the guests, do not reflect the views and opinions of the law office of Aaron Morse. All comments and suggestions made on this podcast do not reflect your case. Please consult an attorney before moving forward with any legal matter. This podcast does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. Okay.
I need more than that for a relationship. Take me out for a drink at least.
No, for real. Nowadays, like, people be jumping into that title. Like, oh, we went out on a first date. Oh, we're together.
That's your people you know.
No, not
I'm just kidding.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Come on, it took me a minute to put a title on it. So, how was your week?
It was good. It was good. It ended up being lower key than originally expected. So we had some cancellations and some all of a sudden settlements that happened again this week. So it is, quite good.
You got your Instagram live going right there?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Don't tell everybody.
Just let the other people know who don't have us on the Facebook or on the YouTube. But on today's episode, I'm excited to have this gentleman on because I've known him for probably 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's been about 3 or 4 years
at the least.
Yeah.
And
I think I've known you a little longer. We went to law school together. I win.
About 7 years, maybe. No.
You totally win. I will never fight you on that one. But we are proud to introduce Attorney Rolando Sanchez. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I know we jumped back and forth with scheduling, but we finally settled.
Yes,
and thank you for making it on. Making it on.
Trying to coordinate a schedule with an attorney is difficult.
Yeah, right.
No, you had made a comment earlier, right before we started the show.
Yeah. I was telling my girlfriend in the car, a good attorney is always late. A bad attorney is on time because he has nothing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A good attorney is always late because we're always busy, right?
Yeah, I was
And I
late
say
to
that
my mediation yesterday. I was like,
exactly.
Whoa.
I say that jokingly, but I also kind of mean it because, it is, it's hard, like.
If your attorney is available immediately, that's a red flag.
Yeah. And so we're always constantly at the mercy of courts and clients and phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, no, and like I said, I've known you for a couple of years now. And what is the field of law that you actually practice?
Yeah, so I primarily and honestly only do criminal. I've done a few things in the civil realm. I've done a couple small family law things on contested divorces and some child support things. And then a couple other small, contract disputes, breach of contract claims and things like that. But I focus primarily on criminal, mostly state criminal. I've done a couple things federally, but I think I need to renew my middle district bar thing. I think it ran out.
I mean, if it's worth it.
But yeah, I mean, federal cases really, they don't come too often, right? For me, more state cases. But I delve into that area a little bit. But yeah, primarily criminal, mostly. Misdemeanors and lower level felonies. And then I have worked on some, F1s or, first degree felonies, some murders, attempted murders, things like that. But, for the most part.
I did consult with you about an F1 a while ago. And you gave some great insight. And honestly, all the attorneys that we reached out to, gave great insight and gave us the result that we were looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, on a felony case that we had a client that we represented.
Yeah.
And what was the result of that?
The result was a no pros.
Good.
And I don't do criminal law.
Yeah.
I will not do criminal law.
So
that's how I feel about family.
Yeah.
That's so great. What a team.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah, let's team up, right? Let's team up.
I feel like we should do that TikTok. Yeah, whatever.
I'm not much of a social media guy, so I haven't seen that.
So what was that? So You are a veteran of the United States Air Force.
Yes, I was in the Air Force many moons ago.
What was it that led you down both those paths?
Well, I mean, really, the Air Force, honestly, I joined when I was 17. So it was just to get out of Orlando. I was, just a young kid wanting to see other areas of the world and the country. And, I got blessed and joined the Air Force, I was stationed in Japan. And then after that in England. And then after that came back to the States. And when my time was up, I got out and came back here and then, delved in the music business for a while. Did that. And then I got really interested in finance. And
let me jump in on that.
Wait, hold on. You're an Orlando native?
Well, I mean, I moved here at like 3 years old.
Wow.
So I was born in Miami, but moved here at 3. So yeah, I mean, I
That's
consider
amazing.
myself Orlando, born and raised, basically. Yeah.
There are a few of those.
Yes, very.
So then I just want a quick recap. Air Force.
Yeah.
Music industry.
What did you do?
Finance.
With music?
Hold on. Then the law.
Then the law, yeah.
Do you have ADHD?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah.
you
I
must.
have ADHD. For
You
sure.
certainly have
Yeah.
career ADHD.
Yeah, but like in the music, I've always been involved in music since a kid. I got my first one turntable, because that's all I could afford. When I was probably like 12 or 13 from as a music store on I Drive, George's Music or something like that. I think it's still there actually. It's right there on I Drive across the street from where Wet and Wild used to be. It was a Gemini. I'll never forget a belt drive Gemini. And I learned how to scratch on that turntable, and it was a very unforgiving to tell you the truth. But so then I joined Zulu Nation, and I was all involved in hip hop. I used to do graffiti and break dance, and I was involved in just hip hop. I love the music. And so when I came back to Orlando, my friends that I grew up with and stuff, they were still involved in the music. And so we just kind of took that and, we worked on the radio. I worked on the underground radio station, the Rollins radio station, then, to 102, 95.3, things like that. And then that led us through other avenues too, because when I was in the Air Force, I also was in the music stuff. And when I lived in North Carolina, I had some good friends that were rappers or MCs, and they ended up introducing me to a guy named Ski Beats, and Ski Beats produced Jay-Z's first album, Reasonable Doubt, with DJ Premier. So Ski and I became really good friends.
Oh, shit.
He's from Greensboro, North Carolina. And so him and I became real good. And he introduced me to a guy from Rough Rider Records named Wadeen. And then Wadeen and I became cool. And then he brought us up to New York, and then we did some work with Rough and just, kind of did all that for about 4 years. Then came back to Orlando, and
you're right, he does have ADHD.
Yeah, had a little bit of coin, and so I said, hey, let me take this money and make my money work for itself. So I started getting involved in stocks and stuff like that, and that's when I was started getting really interested in learning about the system, right, the financial system, which then led me to use my military money, my VA money, to go to college, get a finance degree, and then once I did that, I said, oh well, what's the next step? Learning the legal side of it, right, because I know the business of finance and the banking sector and all that stuff. Now I need to learn the legal side of it. So I go to law school. That's where we met, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
so you're telling me you went from, and I kind of want to do what Aaron just did right there. From Air Force.
You have to repeat what I said?
From Air Force to music, from music to, you dived into music for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not only just production, but you did radio and all that.
Yeah.
And then you took that money and you wanted to learn how to grow that money.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to not have to work again, honestly, because I'm pretty free. Like I got ADHD and I'm pretty lazy, right? So I was like, let me make the money work for itself.
Wait. Then you went to law school to become a lawyer.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's like the opposite of not working.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into. Like I used to hate reading, but now I love it, because of law school. But so I guess I do really have ADHD, never diagnosed, right? But they say that the great minds think like that, right? Because we're all over the place, like the Albert Einsteins and what other world. But anyway, so I did that. And then, went to law school, actually with no intention of ever taking the bar. And
I think I remember you saying that. And I remember us having this conversation, and I was like, why?
Why? And I go, because I don't need to. I don't want to work. What for? So I only did it because my mom kept pounding me.
Was he like the Matt Damon?
In what way? Matt Damon, like the actor?
Because in Good Will Hunting, where like he's just so smart, but doesn't want to.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
no, because he's more sociable, right? He has more of a like social presence.
Yeah, I'll talk to the
he'd probably be more Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I'll talk to the wall. Yeah, I can talk. I mean, you walk downtown with me, even the homeless people are like, "Hey, Rolly, how you doing?" Because I talk to everyone. I don't care about.
I am the opposite of that. If anyone talks to me, I give them like a glare. I'm like,
or a swift kick.
Yeah, I don't even respond. I'm like,
But yeah, I mean, we had several classes together,
Mhm.
and I did tell everyone that in law school that I didn't want to take the bar, but then I ended up taking the bar, passed first time, and then a couple weeks later, a friend of mine gets a DUI, and I get a call, hey, Rolly, got a DUI, and I didn't know what I was doing. I actually Googled. I honestly Googled this. I'll never forget. What does a defense attorney do? Like, they don't teach you have to file a notice of appearance in law school. I didn't know what a notice of appearance was.
no.
So I took the notice of appearance that Mark O'Mara used for George Zimmerman, and I copied it. I still the same one I use to this day. I literally just copied that one, And so I learned that.
You know what else is ironic?
Yeah, it's really crazy.
All of those forms are available for free at the
Yeah, exactly.
Supreme
But
Court
nobody
website,
tells
but
you
he
that.
Googled that.
Nobody tells you that. But
So
anyways,
here's what's different for me is on my career path. At 20, I became a paralegal. I became a legal a receptionist, then a legal secretary, then a paralegal. So for me, as soon as I was out of law school, I knew how to file a case. I knew how to have a consultation. I knew how to a notice of appearance. I knew that I needed a petition. I knew all of the forms. Like, I knew all of the rules of procedure because I had been working with them, right?
Yeah.
That was my job to make sure. I knew them. I knew how they operated. I knew what to file. I knew where to file, what to write, what the font, everything. That I was like, bam.
Okay, this makes a lot more sense now because I have been introduced to new attorneys at other firms, and they're asking me, what's the next step? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you're the one that went to law school. How the hell do you not know to request discovery, consolidate a case, things like that? And like right there, that just like literally blew my mind. That in law school they don't show you to file a notice of appearance on a case.
If you don't come from it like she did, or if you don't do an internship or anything like that, which I didn't do because I didn't have any interest in it, and also too, I was later in life, I'm 41.
It was your fourth career.
Yeah, so I'm 41 now, so like I never want to work for anybody, like I don't want to work for anybody, like I want to be able to do whatever the hell I want to do. And so, I said, I'm not going to go get some guy coffee. At that time I was like 36 years old, 35 years old, 34. I'm like, I'm not going to get some, 20-year-old kid coffee. You know what I mean? At Morgan & Morgan. I'm going to do it all on my own if I want to do it. And so I took the chance. I went on my own, but then I realized, okay, I need help.
But that's one of the best things about being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Is right there is a decent path to hanging your own shingle.
Yeah.
And the Florida bar expects that a majority of the lawyers who practice will be on their own, at least for some point in their career.
Yeah.
So is it that you have a partner or you have?
Well, I mean, at that time when I first started, it just got scary, when the first person says, I want to go to trial, because my first few cases were resolved as, just null process or dismissal. So they were fairly easy, and not being really connected to the lawyer community because I'm more, I don't know, I just feel like I'm more organic person. So I never involved myself in internships or the, the little, what do they call it? The, like the little social events that they do,
I will say this, I would run into you all the time in downtown. Yeah. And this was, back in my days. Yeah. And I remember I was with a friend of mine. And if you're an attorney, I immediately introduce you. Oh, this is Attorney Rolando Sanchez. And
I'm usually dressed like this.
that was the thing. As he's walking away, my friend hits me on the shoulder. She's like, "Is he really an attorney?"
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. Yeah.
Why would you question that? Just because
because of the way you like,
Like, why does society like put that label?
I think that lawyers, people who are non-lawyers, right? Not in the legal community, think that lawyers are at all times in a gray suit with a red tie,
exactly,
or a woman in a skirt suit, and at all times is, a lawyer, right?
Lawyering,
we never clock out. I'm never not a lawyer, right? So like Rolando came in here and he gave me a hug, and I was like, sorry if I smell like baby, because like my baby comes to the office with me, and definitely has puked on me more than once today. So, lawyers are regular people. We just happen to go to law school, right? We just
absolutely. So I totally agree. And like what Patricio was saying before we started is like, he feels like we're the new wave or new age of lawyers, and we are, because we're bringing a different approach to it. Like when I started everything. This was back in 2016, right? So it's been 5 years, going on 6 years. I didn't have an office. I did everything virtually from home. I started my virtual thing back then, right? Because most criminal clients, they don't need a fancy fancy office. I'd rather pass along those savings.
They need to
my
stay out of
client.
jail.
Yeah, well, yeah. So most of them are in jail, right? But they don't need to. I'm not whining and dining corporate clients here. You see what I'm saying? I'm not, CEOs of Fortune 500 clubs, right? So I'd rather pass along those savings to my clients, right, and keep my cost low, right? My sunk cost for running my business very low, and that's what I do. But then as you grow, then you grow into an office and things like that. But once I realized I needed help, I reached out. I worked with some good attorneys, and I ran a traffic ticket law firm for a while. Then I worked with another attorney who had a high volume criminal practice, which basically I was like a well-paid public defender because we had a lot of cases, And so I handled a lot of cases, from first degree felonies all the way to the lowest misdemeanors. I got a lot of trial experience, a lot of motion experience. And, that's what helps you become a good lawyer, actually lawyering, being in court, and then building the relationships. And then, I find that, and I'm sure you find that too, when you go to court, we're seeing a lot of the people that we went to school with, whether they were in our class or not, or the year before us or behind us, you see them, you recognize, I've seen you on campus. I just did it today in Seminole. Like, you look familiar. You went to Barry, right? Yep. I went to Barry. I knew it. When'd you graduate? 2017. So a year after me, right? So, okay, I remember seeing you, and right there, that connection helps, you know what I mean? And it helps you, get better deals or get, better, opportunities, to resolve your case or whatever.
Right.
So,
we're living in the day and age, your net worth is, how big is your network?
Exactly. Right.
And I value that about myself in the fact where I am the social butterfly. I'll drunkenly give my business card somewhere, and then actually next thing you know, Monday morning they're calling like, "Hey, listen, we were here, and you mentioned that you work for an attorney. Can you help us out?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And whether
I get those calls all the time. I know people. I met you at a bar downtown 2 years ago. My friend got a DUI. It happens all the time. So but the thing, but we don't just do it drunkenly. We do it sober.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, because that's just who we are. We're just social people, and I've never advertised since I've been an attorney. I don't advertise at all. All my business is word of mouth. I just put myself out there. I grew up here in Orlando, so a lot of people know me, and so that's helpful as well. I never was on social media. I just got on social media about 2 years ago for really honestly
for work.
For work, to reconnect with people from school and stuff. And I've gotten tons of cases that way. People message me on Messenger and say, "Hey, remember me from high school? I have this problem or issue. Can you help?" And then, when I can't help, I send them your way, or I send them, Joe, you remember Joe Terramino? I send him a lot of cases for civil stuff. And so I try to keep people in mind that I know that are friends of mine, that we went to school together, and we can help each other out. And, one hand washes the other, both wash the face. And then, we can all succeed together.
Yeah, we've definitely had cases we've sent your way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it is who you know and who knows you. Now we have a social media presence, but I have an employee for that, right? Like my business has taken a bit of a different path, right? Because my business took off quickly, fortunately, right? So it's like, absolutely. I'm so hungry and there's all this food, right? So, for me, I had to really increase my staff. So, the ability for me to kind of get things done and to get things moving, I typically have to move it into my office, or I couldn't keep up with it. So for a while I had people, who would just contact me and it wouldn't be a problem. But for me, it got overwhelming. And I was like, you have to bring it into my office, or it's going to fall off of my radar. That was a problem that I would have, is that it would fall off my radar.
But you have children and stuff, so it's a little bit different. Like your home dynamic, for me, it's just me and my girlfriend. So my home dynamic is quite quiet, so I can run my business from home, right? But there are those instances where you do need an office, and and you want to expand, you know what I mean? You want to grow your business, you get a little more hungry, right? And and you're lucky here with Patricio, because I've known him for many years, and he's always been, the social media go-to guy.
I made this job for him.
Yeah, that's what he does. You know what I mean? That's what he does, and he's good at it.
Yeah,
I do remember you said that when we were doing the 2-year, you literally said, "I made a position just for you." And no, I'm honest to God, like I'm blessed to be where I'm at right now, because I have fun with what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the same time, it's beneficial for you, because in case you need some legal work,
he can step in.
He's
the ideal person for this job.
Absolutely, and he's good at
I poached him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh,
I know.
that's the thing. She
Yeah.
did poach me from where I was
Yeah,
at.
yeah, where we were. Yeah, I mean, I was there too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's where I know him from as well. But
I did.
you know,
I did. I was like, come to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I was like, you like being on social media
Yeah.
all day?
Yeah.
Do it for
Yeah,
work.
let's use it to the benefit. Yeah, but I mean, you know, he's a good person and a hard worker. So that,
I
that
know.
helps,
That's
you know,
that's
that
why
helps.
I knew it
That
was
helps.
right guy for the
Thank you.
job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what is it that keeps you like in the criminal realm? Because I know that I've heard of attorneys jumping practice or
Yeah.
switching practice to a different field. But what is it that keeps you in criminal?
Honestly, what keeps me in there is just like I feel just kind of stuck there, right? Because you know now I probably have about
You don't choose your area of law; it chooses you.
yeah, exactly. And I kind of just fell into it, and it just kind of got overwhelming for me. And then so I told myself, okay, well, I need to learn, you know, the criminal stuff. And then when I started learning it, I just got deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And it's almost impossible to get out of it. But you know, I am trying to put myself in a position where I can slowly transition out of lawyering every day and delve into other businesses. But and also to my passion, you know what I mean? Like I like helping people. Like, you know, there's certain cases I don't like, you know, in the criminal area. And, you know, I hate domestic violence cases, obviously. I hate, you know, certain sex cases. You know, those get, you know, kind of touchy, you know, depending on the circumstances. But, you know, like the slower marijuana charges and, you know, driving with suspended license, things like that, you know, where it's like you're going to destroy someone's life over something so minor. Like, let's just fix the problem, right? And help this person out, right? Whether it is they need help, counseling, or if they just need help getting their damn license, right? So they're not out here driving without a license and injuring people and you know, not having proper insurance coverage, you know, so if property's damaged, people can get their things fixed, right? Let's get that fixed and let's move on, you know? So those are the cases I don't mind doing, you know, and I do a lot of those, but now I'm just like, you know, like I was telling you before, I have still my own practice, which is a virtual practice. It's just my name, Rolando Sanchez or whatever. And then David Chico is a lawyer out in Celebration.
I know Chico.
So I run all his criminal cases for him, for his firm.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he bought a firm, like I was telling you and Aaron before, from Kelvin Soto. It was called Soto Mac, Christopher Mack and Kelvin Soto, because Mr. Soto got appointed clerk of court in Osceola, and then he took Mr. Mack with him. So they sold him to practice. He brought me on about a year ago to run all those criminal cases for him. And then I opened a firm with a friend from law school.
Soto took over Ramirez's position
Yes, he took Ramirez's position and the clerk. So me and Mike Espinal from law school that we went to opened a firm down in Miami. And we're doing a first party property insurance, personal injury, and a small amount of criminal down there.
Awesome.
And so, you know, like with that, you know, I mean, I have probably over 400 plus clients. So, you know, it's just a lot, you know, when it's all added up and my calendar gets kind of bunched. So it's just difficult to get out of. It's difficult to get time. I mean, even my girlfriend was begging me the other day, like, please let's just take a small trip for like 3 days before the year ends. And it's like, I want to, but where's the time? You know what I mean? And when, you know, and then if I want to take an actual vacation, I got to file a notice of unavailability and I have 400 cases.
Try to file
You know.
for maternity leave. Tell everybody you want 12 weeks off.
Oh yeah, that can't be easy. Yeah, that cannot be easy. You know, I can't even fathom having to do
However, that. I don't know what you have for staff. I have a healthy amount of staff, so that's
I mean, I do everything pretty much myself. With Mike, we have one staff, and then
that's insane.
And then David has staff. You know, he has several staff because he has a healthy civil practice that he runs as well.
Yeah,
but
with civil,
he kind of runs them separate. So for criminal, basically for the criminal side of his practice or our practice there, that's like 200 plus cases, and I just have one paralegal. It's just me and her, basically. And then, you know,
at least you have a paralegal.
Yeah, everything else runs through that. But she's great, and I mean, like between me and her, we can get everything done, and then, you know, he picks up the slack. You know, where I can't be because, you know, then I still have my firm. You know, my firm I probably have like 60-ish clients for my personal firm. You know, 200 plus something with him, and then with Mike, you know. But Mike down in Miami takes a good chunk of the work, so the Miami stuff doesn't pull a lot of my time. You know, it's just Orlando stuff that really, really gets me. Yeah. But, you know, like you said, you know, you kind of identified, I kind of have ADHD in a way. And so it's difficult for me to focus on one thing. So, you know, I let these guys focus on all the administrative stuff. And I'm the guy who goes to court and handles business in court. That's where I like to be. Just send me to court. I'll handle the business in there. I'll get in the trenches and dig the trenches. And then, you know, you guys do all the other stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned this before, Aaron, but in regards to like going to trial, like you actually enjoy it, right?
I love it. I love going to trial. I find it interesting. I think it's exciting. I don't know. I've always really enjoyed that side of it. It's one of the things that drew me to family law was because they litigate often. So a lot of motion practice, a lot of, that kind of, and for me with family law, it's a little different than criminal because, you have to represent somebody who is an alleged criminal, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in family law, instead of one party being at fault, like state versus, right? It's right?
Yeah,
So our case styles are right? John Smith and Jane Smith. So the theory is that neither of you are at fault, kind of both of you are at fault, right? You're both the problem for the breakdown of the marriage. So no one gets preferential treatment. Right. So we're always trying to just figure out, and again, we're, not a criminal court. We are considered a court of equity.
Yes.
So it's like where there's this fundamental fairness gives us a lot of wiggle room in how to have unique like outcomes or arguments and ways to kind of, reach within the law to come up with something that has some fairness, right?
Yes.
I can probably tell you that many clients are like, it wasn't fair for me.
Yeah.
But what you deem
they're
fair.
looking at it one-sided. Right?
Yeah,
what
you deem fair and what the court deems a fair under the court of equity is
two different things.
Very different.
Yeah, I feel like in family law, you guys probably even litigate more than we do in the criminal area. Because I mean, I think I don't know the exact percentage, but they say 97% of criminal cases finish in a plea deal usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So only a small percentage, and really, I mean, and
that I feel like that number is actually
I mean, that used to be the number. I just don't know if it's still that, and even less in federal court. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think a lot of times when you're going to trial in a family law case, right? There's still a lot of important things that are on the line, right? Custody issues and monetary things or
Property,
whatever, splitting of assets, right?
Retirement.
When you're talking about a criminal case and someone going to trial and you tell them, hey, buddy, you might go to jail for 5 years if the judge wants to give you the max because you score the max on your score sheet.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, hell no, I'm taking that.
Yeah, I'll take
right?
it.
Because,
I'll take it.
most people want certainty than uncertainty. Most people aren't gamblers, right? That's why not everyone live in Las Vegas and we gamble every day. No one will work, right? We just all take the chance.
What did you say? And I'm gonna ask this about to the family and the criminal attorney. Like, don't you feel like going to trial? I mean, that's the gamble right there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in family law, the thing is that, you have a little bit of a controlled gamble in family law because when you're going to court in family law, the outcome of your case is unlikely in most scenarios, right? Your worst day in court is like 50-50 time sharing. Your worst day in court is 60-40 time sharing. Your worst day in court is never like in a lot of the scenarios that I have, your worst day in court is never going to be like, they're taking your kid away, right? You're going to jail. So their worst day in court is, $1,500 in child support or $800 in child support, right? So it's a little bit, for them, it's more of a controlled gamble. There's going to be child support. The gamble is how much, right? There's going to be alimony. The gamble is how much, right? And I typically can accurately predict what your bracket is, right? So we have these brackets on what we know it's going to be. So this is your worst day in court. This is your best day in court. So if you're comfortable with either of those, or, you don't want to accept as an agreement your worst day in court, don't. But, sometimes, and I had this conversation with a client this week, I was like, child support is what's at issue. I was like, getting $300 more in child support will cost you potentially, with what we have to do in your unique case, because of how much I'm going to have to pull from the other side, is going to cost you between $10,000 and $12,000.
Do the math.
Yeah. Where's your return on investment? And this client said, well, that's about 2 to 3 years. And in child support, and I get my return on investment. Is that worth it to you? I said, at an increased rate of $300 to $400, I said, don't you think that per month? I was like, don't you think that you could just instead work? You know what I mean? Build your business. You have a business that is going to be a thriving business because you're very good and you're very valuable at what you do. This person is an incredibly dynamic individual. I'm like, You need to close your divorce down so that you can flourish.
Yeah.
This person is like the personal equivalent of a closed flower because of the struggles they had within their marriage. Once she's able to shine, it's going to be magical.
Yeah.
But she has this pending divorce and there is some difficulty, right? Figuring out what she's going to do with her children, what she has, for financial ability to be able to build her business, etc. So, it's again, that balance of, do you think you could just make $400 extra a month? Or would you rather pay me to go to trial? And again, and what was hard about it is the real life advice that I had to give her in this case is, it feels wrong because the numbers are wrong here, right? But I said, because you're right. I said, so do you want to be right or do you want it to be over?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the decision you have to make. You can pay for my kid to go to college.
Yeah, or you can pay for yours.
Right, so I don't.
No, I agree. And I think
it's a hard decision.
Yeah, with family law, and not to say there's not a lot of contentiousness in criminal cases or other, areas of law, but I just think in family law, because it's the dissolving of a relationship, and usually these relationships, they're for a long time.
Wildly emotionally charged. Even
it gets difficult. That's why I don't like doing it.
Shorter relationships can be worse.
Can be worse. Yeah, even ones that are uncontested, the so-called uncontested ones.
That's a problem.
Yeah, those end up, becoming your worst nightmare sometimes. But
How did you know?
Yeah, because that's the few that I've done. And so with criminal stuff, and that's why I like criminal, because it's a lot more. I don't want to say structured, but I don't know how to use the right word, but it's just like a criminal case. I get a misdemeanor case and I know if I don't continue it within 90 days, I'm going to be in trial or not.
Yeah.
Right. I got 90, the state's got 90 days, and on a felony, they got 175. Now if I start continuing it or whatever, it's a big felony case, it's going to drag on for some years. But, most of my cases are finished usually within a year. You know what I mean? My fees are all up front, flat fees, so I get my money up front. I don't have to worry about chasing clients down for money and things like that. And so, I just like that security aspect of it, on our end. But, there's potential to make so much more money in other areas of law, right? Where you take those risks, on contingency cases and your floating cases and, the insurance type cases.
Those are risky, right?
Those are risky. Yeah. Because, you're floating a case and you're putting your money out there. And then, if you get no return, if you don't get a settlement or you lose, if you go to trial and you lose, or you don't get your attorney's fees awarded, then you're sitting there holding the bag, and then the client's unhappy too, because they didn't get what they wanted. And so, for me, the criminal area is just, I want to say easier. It's just easier for me to manage, right? And so, it takes a special person, to do what you do, right? To manage a whole firm, to manage the whole practice.
I like getting in people's faces about their life choices.
Yeah, I never knew that. What was that class we had together? Oh my God,
Florida evidence.
Yeah, the rules of Florida evidence. That class was at first I hated it, but it ended up being one of my favorite classes ever, because that was the only class I ever had in law school that really functioned like being out here. Right.
If you could take the beating from Professor Frank.
Yeah, he was a great professor. Yeah.
If you could take the beating from him, there is no judge out there who's ever been meaner than Professor Frank was.
Absolutely.
I've never been afraid of a judge since him.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't either, and he prepared us well. I think he did very good.
I loved it.
I loved it. I think that class should be required. Taught by him. Or someone like him to every law student in the United States.
I actually almost think that he should privately sell that training.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think from a private perspective, I think he would.
He did it amazing. That's literally, I think that's the only book that I kept from law school.
Yeah, the notes. That's the only notes I ever went back to and referred.
And he's good. He prepared us very well for that with that class. But
I know hearsay so much better than my colleagues.
I try. It's funny trying to explain to a layperson hearsay, and the way he explains it is the way I explain it. And so, in law school, there are some things that prepare you, but for the most part, you're learning it all out here. And it takes, a tough person and a strong person to be able to be learning that while at the same time running the business. You came in with a leg up because you already kind of had that experience from, working in the field.
And my bachelor's degree is in legal studies.
Yeah. So,
so a lot of the cases, especially torts and business law, those big seminal cases, I had already read.
Yeah.
I had briefed again. With a different knowledge base and education, but
you had the basis of it.
Yeah, already. Those cases weren't new to me, and I was like, "Remember, we read this case." I remember this happened a couple times in law school. I said, "Remember, we read this case before," and my colleagues were like, no, we didn't.
No.
And I'm like, we definitely know this case. And then I was like, oh yeah, I
was
have a
somewhere else.
bachelor's
Yeah.
degree. So yeah, I saw a lot of this information myself.
Before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
before.
that's helpful. That's all very helpful.
Yeah, I had an unfair advantage, but I knew where I was going.
But no,
So,
go
so
ahead,
you
sorry.
have some questions for us, don't you?
I do. So what we usually do on the show is, we'll get questions from the listeners, from the viewers, and we'll throw them at Aaron, and Aaron will throw some legal knowledge at us. Now, the fact that we have a criminal attorney and a family attorney on here, I was able to pull out some criminal questions, and of course, I do have some family ones. However, I want to flip it, and I want to ask you some family questions, Rolando, and I want to ask you some criminal questions, Aaron. All right, so.
And we're going to correct each other
Exactly.
for how we get it wrong, which is a good example of why if you have an attorney friend, that doesn't mean they know everything.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a doctor, right? Asking a doctor a question. Like, oh, you're a doctor?
Yeah, your foot doctor
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
can't do your craniotomy.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put both Aaron and Rolando on top so we can see their reactions to what the other one is saying. Okay. So Rolando, the first one goes to you.
Mhm.
All right. The question is, if my ex and I never got married, can I take the kids on vacation to Colombia without him having to sign the passport paperwork?
I would say no. You can't, because I think the parent needs to have the signature. And I loosely remember having to do this for a criminal client of mine who wasn't married, who got sentenced to Department of Corrections time, and I had to go to the prison to get him to sign the paperwork. I try to help out as much as possible.
No, definitely. And Aaron, your final thoughts as we're wrapping up.
If you need criminal help, don't call me unless you want to be referred to Rolando.
Yeah.
You always have the right to decline a search unless there's a warrant or you're on probation.
What was those lawyers on Facebook? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I love
Shut the
those.
fuck up.
Yeah.
Just keep your mouth shut. I always tell people,
Yeah.
you can't. Why would you help someone build a case against you? Just keep your mouth shut. If you want to be a gangster and you can't keep your mouth shut, then don't be a gangster. Go to school.
Right.
Go to school.
Right.
Yeah. All right. That's it.
That's it.
Have a great one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.